insufficient power.
User joined your channel.
Hey,
Hello,
what's up?
I'm good, and you?
Pretty good. Just got off work. Looking forward to some frigate action, probably.
Sweet. Yeah, this afternoon went a bit flexing, and I said hello to the new arrival, Chiari Lion.
Yeah, that's cool.
He's from a few days only character, so just I gave him the fit for the Tristan.
All right.
Oh no, wait, he's flying a slasher, I think. Anyway, I just told him like plexing passively, like if anyone warps in, warp out, and everything, and so we were both plexing passively. No one were attacking us or anything. Easy, easy LP.
Yeah. Pretty decent way to make some starting ISK. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
sure, yeah, exactly. I am an alpha, so I cannot face much adversaries like this alone. But and he is, and the other guy is just a fresh character, so pretty much the same. No firepower yet as solo, but as a fleet, yeah, we can do something.
Yeah, most definitely. Um. All right. So we got all three of us. So we've got you three guys and myself in fleet. I'm trying to get them into comms, and then we can head out once we've got you all situated in ships, which will be cool.
User joined your channel.
That's one.
Hello, guys.
Hey.
Hello.
All right. Just gonna give Chiari a second to drop down. They're planning on it. And can you guys let me know what types of ships do you have access to?
I'm an alpha. I can fly destroyers, cruisers, frigates.
Okay.
Yeah, I can fly Galente frigates, destroyers, and cruisers.
User joined your channel.
There we go.
Oh, there we go. Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Cab Pie, can you maybe turn your speakers down just a little bit?
I can indeed. Give me 2
Okay.
seconds.
Thanks. I just noticing the playback. So yeah, what I just wanted to do, I want to check with you three before we actually head out and do some plexing, because this is just going to be a simple plexing fleet, maybe with some PvP. I don't know if any of you guys remember my voice, but I was in one of the previous fleets like this. The guy kind of calling out certain targets for jewels while he was leading you around.
Sure.
So I am that guy, Senator.
The scouting guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scout.
I usually, so I'm one of the, I believe I'm in a director position right now, but I'm one of the, the leaders in Moira, Jules' actual corp, and I do a lot of solo PvP as well as micro gang stuff. So I run around with 1 or 2 or 5 other people, and we just try to fight other pilots. But I started in faction warfare where a lot of you are starting, just running basic plexes and doing small fleet fights in cheap ships. So it's definitely a good way to enjoy the combat aspect of this game. Do you guys have any questions before we start the fleet? I'll just ask that up front.
Nope, I don't.
Okay.
I don't really have any questions, but just so you know, this is going to be my first time doing this because I just joined and I had missed some of the other training sessions. But I have watched the videos and stuff, so hopefully that helps.
Fantastic.
And on another note,
same for me.
I'm not Kalante, I'm Minmatar, so that's also a different fit for the ships and stuff.
Okay. So I know I have a personal stock of reships. Do you? So you guys in Pioneers, you actually have corp assets you can tap into. Like you have ships available if your current ship gets destroyed. Yes or no?
Not
Only
at
the
this
ones.
moment. All the corpse hangars are locked.
Okay. I have, yeah. So if I I will take personal accountability for anything stupid that happens today. Because it's a training fleet, and so if you end up losing your ship, you know I'll get you a new one. I've got a large quantity of Atron reships here, and I'm pretty sure we've got some Minmatar ships lying around. And if we don't, again, I'll personally bring something in for you. So, with that being said, do you guys know how to link your ship fit into chat?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, let me go ahead and do that.
All right. Yeah, can you guys link your ships into fleet just so I can kind of see what I'm working with here? My plan is to, so this is a training fleet, but it's going to be a kind of a simple faction warfare one. Can I ask the two new guys, have you done offensive or defensive flexing before? Like, are you at least familiar with the mechanics of faction warfare, or are you brand new?
Yeah,
I'm a
I
little,
know how it's done.
yeah, I know a little bit
More
how
or
it's
less.
done. I've been doing some defensive stuff, but I haven't done like any of the actual PvP besides getting stomped by a few people, you know.
Okay. Kind of the same thing, Cab?
Yeah.
Okay. So the plan is I'm going to just take you guys over to Oix, I think. We're gonna run maybe this fleet will run maybe an hour. I'm not gonna have us sit around for too long unless you guys want to keep doing it after I'm ready to leave. But the plan is to take you over to Oix, which is a Caldari owned system right now, and we will run one or two plexes over there. Um, Smalls or novices, and maybe engage stuff that tries to fight us. Maybe we won't. We'll find out. Um, if we have downtime while we're over there, I'm also going to run through some D-scan, directional scan training. If you are not familiar with directional scan, I will make sure at the end of the training, you are familiar with it and how to use it. It's a powerful tool that helps you avoid getting killed or helps you find kills. So, if you guys are ready in your ships, let me just flip through what we've got. And if you've got, at any point during the fleet, if you've got questions or observations, just, throw them out there because this is a learning fleet.
Roger that.
Alright. Gotta talk to Jules about the small shield extenders on these frigates.
I can fit a larger one, but I don't want to fly the 10 jumps back to the trade hub.
Well, let's see. Would it, are you able to simulate it with a medium shield extender on there? Like, do you have the actual fitting for that?
I do think so. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, just check, because I have spare parts lying around.
Just a normal Tech 2.
A Tech 1, or a Tech 2,
Tech
or a
1.
Compact, or whatever. I just linked the medium shield extender 1 in fleet. I don't know if that helps.
Oh yeah, that's no problem.
Okay, can you dock up in Rodin 7 real quick? And I'll just trade that over to you, and you can swap that out for the small shield extender. That
I can do that.
That way your slasher will be a little tankier. I hope I'm talking to the slasher guy.
Oh no.
Oh no, that's
I'm not the slasher guy.
Sorry about that.
I'm dumb. My apologies. So the slasher guy. Would you be able to use a Tech 1 power core and a Tech 1 medium shield extender? And if that is the case, can you please dock up in Rodin 7?
Yeah, I believe I can use those.
Let me
I've used them before.
rephrase that. Just go ahead and dock up. I'll give you the parts and I'll tell you how to refit this.
I had with my main Minotaur, I had a cheap, compact brawler fit for the slasher, but I don't know how to get it from here. It's like another account, so I can't get it. But I could try to simulate the ship anyway.
We should be good. Basically, so looking at the slasher fit, you should be able to take off the small shield extender and the nanofiber in the low slots, and replace it with a medium shield extender and a micro auxiliary power core, which gives you raw power for your ship. And with those changes, your ship should like double in effective hit points, basically.
Gotcha. And where did you say the dock at again?
I'll link it in Fleet. Rodent 7.
Okay.
That station. Let's go ahead and dock up there. Once we're done with this, again, we will undock and actually head out. I just want to make sure you're all squared away.
All right, I'm in.
Cool. Just gonna trade you here. Give you these. Go ahead and hit accept. And then you can just play around with that fitting. So we have in our fleet today a kiting Tristan, it looks like, a fast tackle slasher, I want to say, and another kiting Tristan. So I'm guessing the Tristan doctrines are just kiting doctrines, correct?
It seems like to be kiting. I don't know. I just copied from the
Yes,
the corp,
it's a kiting one.
All right.
Sure.
Cool. So so I am flying a brawling condor, which is counterintuitive, but it works. A condor is kind of like the Caldari equivalent of the kite Tristan, in that you want to normally you want to stay as far away from an enemy as possible, but I've changed my fitting around to the to where I can kind of scram kite somebody, so kind of within scram range I still stay far enough away from them that they can't apply close range damage to me, but still hitting them with rockets, which are the close range missile equivalent. So we've got that. I'm guessing, can you guys type in fleet your DPS with those ships as well as your speed with micro warp drives?
Indeed.
So it looks like I can't get enough power to use the medium shield extender.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's because I don't have enough skills or if I need to deactivate something else.
Alright, just go ahead and forget about it. You just keep the mods or whatever, and aspire to fit those someday, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, there's probably a little bit of fitting magic. I'm guessing probably have to swap the 200mm autocannons out for 150s or something like that. So I'm guessing that the Tristan pilots probably have maybe like 80 DPS.
84.
Oh, nailed it. The slasher,
Well done.
the slasher maybe in the same kind of range, maybe a little higher, but the numbers are going to be misrepresented because you also have optimal fall off.
It's saying I have quite a bit less than that. Hold on.
Let me see that again. Well, you probably do because you don't have any damage mods in the lows. You just have the autocannons. And the slasher, well, the slasher does have a bonus to damage, but guessing you have Minmatar Frigate 3, 4, something like that.
Yeah, I do.
So you're not getting the full bonus, but again, it doesn't matter. Alright, enough of me just rambling about this stuff. Let's go ahead and get undocked. So if you're currently docked up, go ahead and undock. And we are going to head over to Oix, which is just next door, and do some oplexing. or offensive plexing. So undock and warp to the OICX gate or OIX gate.
Active.
We have a
Oh, wait. I have burnt module.
Yep.
I'll warp to you guys just after.
Yeah.
Waiting for the repair.
Yeah, if you're on the Citadel, you can dock back up and repair your ship immediately.
Instantly, yeah.
Just go ahead
Okay,
and do
it
that.
was
And we'll
it was
wait on.
just like it's over already. It
Yeah.
was 40%. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Ooh, somebody's sporting Tech 2 drones.
Oh yeah, I am. I was told to bring Tech 2 drones.
They're helpful.
Yeah, I was told all the stuff was gonna be paid back to us, so might as well.
That's what you heard. You heard, oh yeah, if your ship gets blown up, I'll just refund it. So you're like, oh yeah, this is an easy way to liquidate some of my material assets, right?
Nah, exactly.
Oh god. Do you at least have Tech 2 damage amplifiers then if you're using Tech 2 drones? No, I doubt it. All right, go ahead and
Maybe.
jump to OIX. We're just gonna YOLO into the system. And there's nothing here. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, so there is currently a small and a medium open. We are going to who here is the least familiar with faction warfare? I'm gonna have that guy be the guy to open up the Plex. So who's newest?
Possibly me?
Who's the new
Possibly?
guy? Possibly
Probably
you?
me.
Okay, so you are gonna open up the Plex. We're gonna do the novice outpost. Do you know how to find unopened Plexes in the probe scanner UI? No?
I do. They're the green ones, right? And we're doing a
Fantastic.
novice?
Fantastic. We're doing a novice, yeah. So just find a novice in that list, right click on it, and warp to it, or just, do it however. So there's not currently a novice on the overview, but once,
Oh, I found one though.
But
Yeah.
once Chiari here opens the novice for us, it will appear on our overview. Just go ahead and open it whenever. Okay, cool. So now you should be in warp to that novice outpost. That's now 16.4 AU away from us. Everybody else, go ahead and warp to that novice outpost at 10 kilometers.
Drive active.
I think it's been covered previously, but can someone tell me why we warp at 10 rather than at 0 for these gates?
So you don't get tackled and destroyed right away.
So you don't
No.
run into the gate and it'll get you stuck and stuff.
Correct.
If it happens sometimes.
Correct.
Yeah, the bounce makes your alignment longer.
Go ahead and slide the gate. Yes, perfect. So the models, the EVE Online models are weird. They have collision, but not perfect collision, and the gates are kind of an oblong shape. So depending on what angle you warp in at, you may or may not start colliding with the gate if you warp at 0. But if you warp at 10, you will always be within the gate activation radius, but you won't be close enough to the model to actually collide with it when you try sliding the gate. Alright, so right now this Plex is contested, if everybody can see that. If you can't, let me know. And there is a Caldari State Frigate here. Let's go ahead and kill that. So go ahead and lock it up. Let's engage it. Perfect. And then once it's dead, I want you guys to set up at your optimal ranges. So if you don't know your optimals, or if you don't know what an optimal is, please ask. Otherwise, we'll get set up and get out the clock. So, directional scan. I kind of chose a terrible system for us to practice this in because there aren't a lot of ships on scan. But there's an Algos, I guess. So, can you guys X up in fleet? I'm gonna stop asking openly on comms. Can you X up in fleet if you are not familiar with directional scan? Awesome. Lesson's over. You're all pros. Cool. All right. Well, so so you use directional scan to kind of, sorry, I tend to ramble a little bit like this. Defensively, directional scan can be used to see, in our case here, if there's anything on the outside of our plex. So if you're checking your directional scan at 0.1 AU or 1 AU, you know, some range that's not very far out, you can see if something's on the outside of the plex before they even slide into the plex. However, one of the other great uses for directional scan is offensive use, specifically using it to try to find targets. Who here has used it offensively in that manner? Go ahead and X up. This time I'll actually get some answers, maybe. Or maybe it's all defensive. Oh god.
Yeah, I'm new to fractional warfare.
Mainly defensive.
That's actually perfect. That's what I wanted to hear, because that's what today's lesson was intended to be about. Is the offensive use of directional scan in PvP in PvP in EVE Online. So I mentioned earlier I'm a solo pilot, which means I roam around in ships and get blown up by a lot of dudes. Go ahead and kill the rat. It spawned again. If you okay, so who can tell me why the rat is moving as fast as it is right now?
Good question. I've noticed this today. They go really fast. My drones can't catch it.
Yep. Does anybody know what happened just now there?
Nope.
I do not.
Okay.
I don't.
So, get a little micro lesson in here. If you are... Okay, so these rats like to shoot at you, you know, maybe within the range of 10 kilometers, we'll say, approximately, right? If you are further away than from a target than your optimal range will allow, what do you normally do? You'll burn towards the target. You'll approach the target, right? So that you can actually hit them. So that's kind of what's going through the rat's mind right there. However, if you are micro warp driving away from a target, or if your target is micro warp driving away from you, what do you have to do to catch it? You have to turn your own micro warp drive on, right? Somebody here in the Plex currently has their micro warp drive active, and because of that, when the rat decided to engage that individual, the rat saw, oh hey, he's way out there, I have to burn towards him. Oh hey, he has his micro warp drive on, I need to turn mine on as well. Which is why the rat was flying around like that. So everybody go ahead and double check to make sure that your micro warp drives are currently off.
But didn't the rat target me? My
gotcha.
my growth drive was not online.
It doesn't necessarily matter who it's targeting.
Okay.
It just has to be someone in the
Plex.
Plex.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what happened there. And if you're roaming around in a PvP setting, most often you'll see stuff like that happen in large compounds or large outposts, because those plexes don't have gates on them. They're just open to warp into. So a lot of people will warp into larges at range and use kiting ships, or just do there's a lot of shenanigans that happen in large plexes. So a lot of people will micro warp drive around, and during that kind of combat, the rat is just like losing its mind. It's flying all over the place, shooting at everybody, every little thing that moves. And it's kind of, it can be kind of entertaining to watch.
Does it count drone micro warp drive?
No, it doesn't.
Alright.
Alright. This time it might have just burned out like that because you guys are far away. so it doesn't matter too much as long as you guys can still kill it. Yeah. So it just wanted to get within range of Cab B. It looks like. Is that Cab Pie or how do you want that pronounced?
I usually say cabby.
Cabby.
Cabby. Oui.
Okay. Cool. But yeah, it looked like in that case it was just trying to burn out to you, and then once it got within a stable orbit, it slowed down significantly. So, alright, we have 5 minutes left on this Plex. Alright, back to the lesson at hand then. Offensive directional scanning. So the first the first example I can give of using directional scan offensively is during PvP roams. If you are a part of a fleet, if you are a scout for a fleet, and you're traveling around ahead of the fleet, which is something people in frigates often tend to do, you'll be reporting intel back to the fleet commander, whoever's actually leading the fleet, and they'll be taking that intel and processing it and figuring out where they want their fleet to go or what they want their fleet to engage based on the information you're providing to them. So scouts are generally used to see what's in the next system along the route before the entire fleet jumps into that system. And that's because you don't want to tilt your hand too early, because if like an enemy fleet is in the system and just kind of sitting on the gate that you just jumped through, you don't want your entire fleet jumping into that. You just kind of want to wait and see what they do, and then kind of make sure that you can pick the fight on even footing. Yeah, and if you have questions at all here, please, again, stop me and just ask. So, scouting is pretty straightforward. It's you move from system to system ahead of the fleet, and you say, hey, there's this many people in local chat. You know, some of them are war targets. You know, X number of them are war targets. There's some neutrals, whatever. And then the next move a scout will usually make is reporting what they see on directional scan. So a long range 14.3 AU 360 degree directional scan. If they see, you know, if there's 13 war targets in local and you see 12 ships on D-scan, you can generally assume that's probably an enemy fleet. And what you'll have to do, and this is one of those things that comes with practice, you won't be able to just do it right away here, is you kind of bundle you bundle that list of ships up into something succinct for the fleet commander. So if I see, if I were to descan our Plex, for instance, and you guys can go ahead and look at it too, you'll see all of us on scan here. What would I report to the FC? Go ahead and
If you saw all 3 ships on the scan.
Yes. Let's go ahead and tell me what's in our Plex right now.
Well, I see 3 ships, 1 Condor, 1 Celeste, 1 Tristan.
Perfect. Yes. So in small quantities, it's usually a good idea to kind of report what you see. So I don't know if any of you were watching Long Scan earlier, but there was an Algos named FW Farm Algos in system with us. I was fairly certain he was probably in the small, but he was just hanging out and doing stuff with us. But that, you know, an Algos is another ship. It's a destroyer, but it's another ship. So if I had jumped into the system ahead of you guys, I would have descanned and said, oh hey, there's an Algos on scan. That kind of information is, again, important because it helps the fleet commander make decisions regarding how they actually want to go about fighting stuff or looking for fights. It can lead to simple tactics like just rush in and get tackle on something, or it can lead to more advanced tactics like setting up bait, sending 1 or 2 ships in, maybe trying to get the enemy to bring a fight and then sending everybody else in after them. So it, the intel's important. Any questions so far?
Nope.
Probably just yeah, okay. So we have about a minute left on this plex. Go ahead and kill the rat that just spawned.
Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. Not in any rush here. Alright. So scouting is one important part of directional scan. The other offensive use for it is actually locating targets. And that is done using the directional part of the directional scan, specifically the angular part. So, if you're familiar at all, if you are unfamiliar with this stuff, I'm just gonna run through this stuff here now. I'm not gonna continue to just ask if you're familiar with it or not, because I feel like I'm boring or just not talking about anything by asking that. So I'm just gonna start running through things. Alright, so we actually will do this real quick. So make sure your directional scan's set to max range, 360 degrees. We just had a neutral jump into local with us, and I want to see what
Sorry, man, your mic was cutting. You said max range and then there was no numbers.
Oh, I just said
yeah, max range. Oh.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I misunderstood that.
No, that's alright.
Okay, but your mic was cutting a bit, so at some point, so.
Yeah. Okay. I'll try to get that sorted. It's been giving me problems recently. Alright, so I was hoping this guy would.
Svitpool on scan.
Yep, there you go. Perfect. So does anybody know what a swivel is?
A what? I'm sorry?
So there was a ship briefly on scan. The neutral in local presumably was flying a swivel. And I guess for those of you who don't know, a swivel is a Tech 3 destroyer. It is a ship that is versatile, powerful. It's a pretty solid solo ship or fleet ship, but it's a destroyer. So, a step up from a frigate. Alright.
On chat, free chat, I've linked to the Svitpool, and I'm asking, so he can enter a small outpost as a destroyer?
So, no. And
No?
what we'll do quick is I'll have you go ahead and open a small in system if we have one, which actually we don't. Never mind. Can I get you guys to warp to the medium outpost? We're gonna try to run the medium. I don't remember if we can or not. So go ahead and pull your drones in and warp to the medium outpost. And let's see, I gotta find that bit of info. Alright, so to answer your question, the question is whether or not a swivel, a Tech 3 destroyer, can get into a small outpost. Go ahead and right click on the Caldari medium outpost on your overview and hit show info and look at the description. So this just, go ahead and slide the gate too. So this description will tell you what types of ships can get into these plexes. So the medium is open for Tech 1 and Tech 2 frigates.
Looks like there's a few wrecks in here.
Yeah, it looks like somebody, probably this Bobby Blazer guy, was trying to run it earlier. Let's see. Yep, poor guy. So the wreck next to the corpse up here was some FDU guy trying to run this Plex earlier. Somebody. So let me I guess ask this. Do these wrecks appear yellow for all of you?
They do.
Okay.
Yep.
Can anybody tell me why that is the case? Or
They have a still
Do
active
not know.
ownership.
okay. I don't know if I should keep asking the questions like that. Is it unhelpful? I don't teach that often. I apologize. So I'm not sure what's going to be best for this. If I keep asking the rhetorical questions or not.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
No, it's fine. Keep
Okay.
you on your
It's
toes.
fine. So
Fantastic. Okay, so the reason these wrecks are yellow is because they were destroyed. The ships that the wrecks belong to were destroyed by somebody who was not yourself, myself, or anybody in the fleet. And so those wrecks are the property of somebody else. In the case of the medium wrecks, those are all NPC wrecks. The one we just destroyed should be gray for you because we destroyed it and we're entitled to the loot inside of it. The yellow wreck with the dot on it next to the corpse, if you can see that, I'll broadcast it here maybe. That one was the guy who was running this Plex before us. And then obviously the corpse is himself. So that's kind of like, you know, the forensic breakdown of this Plex. The Plex, when we warped in here, had 10 minutes on it, or 12 minutes, whatever. And, oh man, there's a corpse here, and there's Rex. What happened? Well, what happened was, somebody came, he was sitting here, minding his own business, running the Plex, and then somebody warped in on him and blew him up. And that's pretty much the story.
Gotcha.
Yeah, poor guy. Got the pot too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was almost halfway there.
Yep. And now we're here to finish the job. Alright, so back to D-scan. Alright, so running through this. If you are you guys familiar with some of the keyboard shortcuts, or do you use the keyboard shortcuts, or do you just use the context menu, or what do you do? Let's go one at a time. Chiari, go.
I use a mix of both. I can't say that I'm too familiar with all the keyboard shortcuts just yet, but
Alright.
definitely probably gonna learn to do that so it's easier in the long run of things.
Definitely. I've been thinking, so I do a video series on YouTube, and I've been thinking about seeing if there's like a thing to record your keyboard and mouse inputs and like throwing that somewhere up there so that people can see the hotkeys I'm using while I'm doing this, because I don't modify any of the bindings or anything. I use the default settings in Eve, so it's that may be a learning thing in and of itself. Stan, familiarity with keyboard shortcuts, or what kind of menus do you use?
well, I have been changing my my usage of all these. So, but I've always trying to learn the shortcuts. So I'm using Shift C for the orbit tracking. This I also set just a few days ago on my mouse, so I could quickly switch for it, because sometimes the battles, especially if you tackle and stuff like that, you lose track of what's going on, because the tracking makes your camera turn around in all directions. So I had to learn this really quick to set a comfortable camera for the combat. And I've set another one for control on my mouse to then control with F1, F2, F3 my low slots for reps, usually armor reps. And I've set also 2 buttons on the mouse for F7 and F8, where I put my warp disruptor or scramble and my afterburner or micro warp drive.
All right, cool. So you've
So-
used a mix of the existing shortcuts as well as some new key bindings that you're running with.
Yes, I've set some. I'm using pretty much the default ones, and then just binding them to the mouse, and yeah, trying to learn them with the normal keys as Control, Alt, and F1, F2, F3.
Real quick, let's go ahead and kill the rat. All right, Cappy, keyboard, mouse, etc. Go.
Yeah, I've changed all my key bindings for something that suits me. You know, Q, W, E, R, F, stuff like that. I only use my my key bindings except for when the FC calls a Stargate or something. Then I use the right click to find it easier.
Okay. Yeah, so if you are looking for something that's difficult to find in your overview, you'll right-click
Yeah.
in space, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh
Which
yeah,
is perfect.
this I have to learn exactly for the Stargates. It's very useful. I think I have to get used to it. But yeah, the right click, good thing for the warp 2 or stuff like that.
Yep. Who doesn't have the drones out? I see one flight of... No, I'm wrong. My bad. Wait. Maybe I'm right?
Yeah, I kept my drones in. Sorry, I was talking too much. So.
No, it's all good. It's all good. We're still able to kill the rat. That's all that really matters here.
Right, we are frigates, right? I forgot.
Yep. Alright. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about keyboard, mouse, etc. Okay, so you
Another
mentioned,
Tristan on scans.
yeah. At a glance, can you tell me if that Tristan's friendly or hostile?
Well, it does seem. Well, I depends on how good the corp standing is.
So in this
He does.
case, actually,
I would say he's. I would say I would go that he's friendly, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't trust him.
okay. I'm actually curious. Does Arcadis Incura in local chat show up as blue or neutral to you guys?
Blue.
Okay. So he's an Eidolon robotics pilot. That's Gal Mill, just like we are. So he is cool. And of course he has his ship named Stabbed, no PvP, blah blah blah, which is not cool, but whatever. um okay, so yeah, that's a friendly Tristan. Stabs no PvP maybe on D-scan is a friendly Tristan. Alright, so I think it was Stan mentioned the Shift C keyboard command.
Yes.
And you also you explained what you use that for, which was
Tracking and yeah, and to switch for more comfortable combat.
perfect.
But usually it's for tracking. For D-scan, it's very useful, the tracking. So you just pinpoint celestials, and it will automatically focus your D-scan on it. So that for pinpointing is perfect.
Yes. So what I want you guys to do as we are killing this rat, because I keep hearing him shoot at me. So go ahead and shoot the rat. What I want you guys to do is go ahead and click around on different things in your overview and just hit C on your keyboard. And what that should do is that should swing your camera around so that the thing that you had selected is at the center of your screen. Let me know if that's not the case, because that's going to be a fundamental thing for the training here.
Works with me.
Okay.
Alright, cool. So that is the tracking camera. It was added maybe I think a year ago to the game, and it is incredibly useful. So what I'm gonna have you do here is I'm gonna have you track me. So see if I'm gonna burn towards the beacon first, so that I'm a little ways away from the other frigates here. What I want you to do is, let me make sure that I'm not bullshitting you guys first. Okay, so if you, yeah, there's a lot of stuff I just do in my like solo PvP that I haven't actually put into words, so it's really hard for me to explain it if I haven't said it before. So if you hold the C key, and you click around on that stuff, your camera will just keep swinging around, correct? And conversely, if you click on something and press C, it will swing your camera to that target. What we're interested in here, for what I'm about to have you do, is tracking me. So find me either in space or on your overview. Hopefully I'm not on your overview, but just find me in space. Cenophore Condor named Featherweight. And what I want you to do is I want you to hold C and click on my ship. And your camera should now be following me. Go ahead and X up in fleet once you've done that. And Chiari, you are muted. I assume it's intentional, but I just want to let you know just in case. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to warp somewhere in space, and I want you to tell me where I warp. Alright?
Warp drive active.
Alright, so your camera should have swung around, and when I leave the field, when I warp off and I'm no longer visible, your camera will be left centered on wherever I just warped to. So, does anybody have an idea where I just warped?
Well, picking from one of the four, I'm gonna guess the custom office.
Which planet custom office? I'm curious.
Number 6.
Alright. Cool. That's pretty close. I warped to the station at range, but yes, that's
the warehouse, yeah, Fitmark warehouse.
Yep. So I warped to, unintentionally, I warped to a cluster. That's what we call it, a cluster of Celestials. I warped to an area that could have been the station, could have been the customs office, could have been the planet, moons, etc. There's a lot of stuff just here around this planet. So you did successfully identify, though, one of the main places that people tend to warp off to, which is customs offices. If people warp to planets, 9 times out of 10 they're warping to a customs office. Well, maybe not 9 times, but a lot of the time, very frequently, they'll be warping to a customs office. If there's a station there, they're probably going there first, then maybe a customs office, maybe the planet itself, moons, asteroid belts. Okay. We have one war target in local?
Yep.
Can you guys get the red?
Yeah.
Yeah, the rat is hard to kill.
He's winning right now, so.
Okay, I'm back now. Bringing my meager 100 DPS. Yeah, the rat.
And Merlin.
Alright. Fantastic. Where's he going? Alright, so I say where's he going? That's actually a good opportunity for training. So what you guys might want to do right now is play around with your D-scan ranges, even though he's already off scan. So the next guy who comes into system, I want you to just kind of change your ranges on your D-scan around to kind of see where the target can be, because on the off chance that they do decide to come to where we're at, this is the defensive directional scanning that you're already familiar with, but it can also be used offensively. because we saw him appear on scan, which meant that he was warping through the bubble that our D-scan encompasses, and then he left D-scan again. So based on the distances of the Celestials in system, and he is on scan again, I see.
He went to the Villiers gate, or somewhere there. This cluster.
So he's back
when he disappeared.
So, okay. He is back on scan though, which means he is not at the Villiers gate or the Iha gate because those gates are outside of scan range. So he is on scan for whatever reason. So let's play a game. He seems like he's sitting around somewhere. So we're gonna just go ahead and play around with your D-scan settings and see if you can find him. Usually, the first thing you want to do for that is play around with the range until you kind of zero in on where he may be range-wise. And then once you've got a sort of a sense of where he might be range-wise, then you will work on the next part. But even just having the range is useful for figuring out where he may actually be. And it actually looks like he might be at a safe based on what I'm seeing here. And it looks like he's off again. So we do have one neutral in local now. Shaggy Blunt in a Bifrost. Interesting. Let's see.
Seems like those reds are picking on me all the time.
Yeah. Alright, go ahead and shoot the rat. Yeah, I don't think it's happening, but just make sure you don't get blown up by the rat. That would be embarrassing.
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm just teasing. Alright, let's check scan again. So the Merlin's back on scan. We can kind of play.
I found it. Oh no, wait. Maybe he. No. Oh shit. He just passed in front of my 15 degrees.
Alright. So it looks like he's. So you mentioned the degrees, which is what we'll move on to next. It looks like he is at 2.9 AU. So if you guys want to adjust your D-scan to something like that, we'll start playing around with the actual cone. And I call it a cone because the directional scan degrees, the angle slider changes what percentage of your, not percentage, what degrees of your field of view, like in a cone in front of your camera, just straight out, the directional scan will encompass. So if you switch it from 360 to 180, suddenly you're seeing everything that is in front of you, essentially, camera-wise. If you switch it from there to 90, suddenly it zeroes in. I want to say, I've always thought about like making indicators for this or something, but it just gradually shrinks down the space in front of your screen that the D-scan encompasses. So you can use that, if you don't know exactly where a target is, you can use that to kind of zero in on where they may be. And I'll give bonus points to somebody who actually finds where this Merlin is.
I'm not getting the scan cone on.
So it's not in the overlay, or in the normal game window. It's not actually a cone. It's just an imaginary cone.
Oh, I just usually you get the little
Okay.
screen of where you see the cone. I just
So are you?
thought that was what we're looking for.
You are talking about the one on the 3D map, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that does exist, and if that's not showing up for you, we can get that sorted. It also looks like the Merlin's moved. Oh no, never mind. I lied. I think he's in a safe in the direction of.
Is he at the FedMart warehouse over there, close by?
I don't think so. No. Okay, so
I'm seeing him at 16 degrees now. Lost him.
all right. So he is at 15 degrees. Maybe he warped now. So this is a fun game.
No, he's still up there.
All right, I got him, lost him.
Lost him.
Okay, so talking about shortcuts, I guess I should circle back to the actual training. So shortcuts, we talked about C being used for tracking camera before. If you use V on your keyboard, it will activate D-scan for you, so you don't have to constantly click that button. So this allows you to, what I normally do with this is I can pan my camera around with my mouse while hitting V until I'm fairly confident I've centered the cone on a target, and then I can shrink it down by another interval, you know, like 60 to 30, and then 30 to 15, and then 15 to 5 degrees. But so
I'm getting him at the FedMart warehouse.
okay, he's probably bouncing around a bit then.
Yeah.
Alright, well, we've captured the Plex. We've been going for 40 some odd minutes probably. Well, there's warm up. So, we'll run the small in system, and then we'll wrap it up. Or I'm gonna wrap this fleet up. You guys can continue to do what you want. Go ahead and somebody, let's just go ahead and warp to the small outpost. So, I'll open it there. So looking at Artemis Redhead, that person is a 4-day-old Caldari pilot, which means they're relatively new, kind of like some of you may be. And in some ways, we may or may not end up being able to take advantage of that. Sometimes new players won't be as familiar with the Plex mechanics, so there's a chance. Go ahead and slide the gate as soon as you get in. There's a chance that new players may not be familiar with the Plex mechanics themselves. So if you were taught when you first joined Faction Warfare, yeah, just go to the Plexes and just run the timers down. That's all. If that's all you were taught, then you may not be familiar with the fact that you have to actually cause them to spawn by warping to them in the Probe UI, which means that there is a chance that a new player like that might not be familiar with that and might just assume that, oh hey, that Plex appeared, let me warp to it. So with that in mind, there's always the chance that you might have somebody just randomly warp into the Plex with you, and you can, if you're looking for fights, you can take a fight that way, or if you're trying to avoid fights, you can just be wary of that. It's just something to keep in mind. Alright, we've got the war target, which we know by now is in a Merlin, and then we've got two neutrals, Shaggy Blunt again, who we saw earlier in, does anybody remember what the ship was? A Bifrost. And then we've got Illogical, who is... Huh, that's interesting. So I briefly saw an Impel on scan, which is a hauling ship. Wait. I might have to double check that. It's either a hauling ship or a rookie ship.
Yes, transport T2.
Thank you.
Oh, he's out.
Yeah, so that person's probably doing maybe like planetary interaction or something. So, whatever. Ooh, there's a mobile depot on scan. Alright, so we'll just run this clock down some more. So I kind of... okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to play hide and seek with you guys. Just to get a little more practice in with the D-scan stuff. were the mechanics of changing range and changing angle and directing your camera, did I miss anything there? Was anybody confused when we were just talking about the Merlin? Or are we good?
I think we're good.
I'm good. I think I
As
got it.
as far as the angle stuff goes, is that just it changes where the scanner is like scanning from in relation to your ship view, or is it?
It changes it in relation to, I'm not familiar with how you're using your camera, but wherever your camera itself is facing in the game should be where the directional scan is scanning. And you can test this really quick from here by changing your angle towards the star and changing your angle to 5 degrees, and the only thing that should appear should be the star. That's just a quick way to test it.
Okay.
Is that what you're getting?
Yeah,
Okay.
it seems like it.
Cool. We'll check. And you, okay, kill the destroyer that spawned. Keeps targeting me, so. Were you still seeing all of the ships we were talking about on D-Scan, or was that stuff missing, or was it just a
No, I was
general
able
question?
to see it. It was just a general question. I wasn't quite sure of
Okay.
the angle
Yes.
stuff.
So it is kind of relative to so it starting from the center of your screen. The center of your screen is 0 degrees, and it flares out from there until it hits 360 degrees, all encompassing. Okay, there's a Svipple on its scan again, which, as we discovered earlier, cannot get into the small outpost, so we don't have to worry about him.
You're sure? Because if you see, they say T2 and cruises also.
Alright, yep.
I don't know
And
if I misread, but it's weird.
so if you look at the Svipple again, and I relinked it in Fleet, it does, so the small outpost beacon, or the small outpost does say that it allows Tech 1 and Tech 2 frigates, and
Tech 2.
Tech 1 and Tech 2 destroyers. However, the Svipple is a Tech 3 destroyer, so we don't have to worry about that.
Okay, okay.
Do have a few more people on scan, but looks
We
like
do have an Parrot on scan.
yeah, which is a hauling ship again.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so D-scan cone, it's something that you have to just kind of feel out. And actually, if you use the sun as a reference again here, you know, if you look maybe above it because there's fewer things there, or whatever. If you just kind of point your camera towards the sun here and change your directional scan to say 60 degrees, you can kind of move your camera away from it to get a sense of where the D-scan cone is capturing. So it looks like a 60 degree scan from what I'm seeing with my setup here is almost capturing everything too. But that may be just super zoomed out. Yeah, I had my camera zoomed in too, and that can affect the distance that it's, the angular distance that it's showing that stuff at. Go ahead and kill the rat again. So I would suggest playing around with that, especially right now because we're in a pretty safe setting, just to feel out those ranges and angles and get a sense of how you can use that. Because so using the tracking camera that we mentioned earlier, the C. So if you jump into a system and you see a hostile target on the gate with you, but you see him, it looks like he's moving, so maybe he's about to warp off or something. If you click on him and hit C, your camera will track him in the same way that you guys tracked me when I went to the station. And you can report back to your fleet commander. I jumped into system, I just saw X ship and it warped to blank. And that is useful intel in and of itself because, maybe you're flying in a small gang group, so...
Worm at the Caldari Infrastructure Hub.
So I see you called out Worm. You'll want to
And
check...
he... oh, wait. Oh, no. He moved.
You'll want to... So go ahead and double check... Well, if he appears again, go ahead. I want you to double check what you were looking at, because you called out the name of the ship, not the type of the ship. The type is more important than the name. It was named Star Worm Star, but it was actually a Merlin.
Yeah.
And that's important because a worm is a ship, and a worm would be able to get into this plex with us and kick all of our asses, and we'd go home crying.
Oh yeah.
Whereas a Merlin, I would very happily take that fight with this group of ships.
Yeah,
Because a
okay,
Merlin,
yeah.
a
The
Merlin's
Merlin and Worm, right.
Yep.
They look like the same, right, the same ship, or...
Yep.
Right, they can trick us all.
Yeah.
There's only a few ships
You-
like this, they look really the same, right?
Yeah. I think most hulls usually only have maybe 3 or 4 at most variations. Like the Condor I'm flying has the Condor, the Raptor, and the Crow. The other 2 are both Tech 2 ships. The Slasher, I believe, has 2 variants. The Tristan doesn't have one. The Tristan's just kind of its own unique model. But the rest of them are, there's a lot of ships that are, that have multiple models out there, as well as a lot of ships that are unique to their faction.
Yes, also the
Or, unique
faction
to their
ships.
tech level, yeah. Yep. Worm is kind of...
It's confusing sometimes.
Yeah, that's why, it will take a long time to know all of this stuff. I've been playing the game for 2 years, and I'm still pretty green. Well, timeline-wise, I'm pretty green. Go ahead and kill the cruiser here, or the destroyer. I spent the first year of EVE playing PvE. Basically, I was running level 4 missions in high sec. And then I decided to day trip into nullsec for a little bit, or not nullsec, lowsec for some fights as a pirate, and I enjoyed it. And some of the Galmil guys, I started running into them a lot, and they invited me to Corp, and I was like, sure, let's do this. And I've been here ever since. So, but it's the knowledge. The knowledge of, what's a worm versus a Merlin, what's an Incursus versus an Enyo, what actually is a Ragnarok, all these crazy things. That's all stuff that you learn over time. It comes with experience. It's not something you can easily, unless you have eidetic memory, like perfect memory, you're not gonna know all of this stuff right away. It all comes to you through experience, and that's why I know a lot of you. I assume you guys got picked up through recruitment channels or something, but the number one question asked by new players in EVE Online is, what do I do next? And the number one answer is join a corp, because by joining a corporation, you get to leverage the experience of the players who've been doing this longer than you have, and you get to learn from the more experienced players, and you get to build up your own experience, and then you can pass that on to newbies, and it's just a nice little communal sort of thing. So that's my soapbox, I guess. I don't know what to say with that.
But those are some wise words, though.
Thanks. Go ahead and kill the rat.
I agree.
Sure, man. I've been playing only with a few players and not very much in fleets or PvP. So for me, it's a great change, and I see already learning the low sec life in a faction kind of perspective. Yeah, faction warfare perspective. It's a jump in fleets combat learning because I sure didn't work the same way in my solo adventures.
Yeah.
Just a question. What kind of ships are we looking to fight in this fleet, and what kind of ships are we looking to avoid?
So, in a general sense, you're
Yeah,
asking what
Oops.
is and
Still-
is not engageable by this
yeah,
fleet?
yeah.
Now, Stan, if you want to fight me, I'll fight you. I see
Bring
that,
it
man.
up.
Oh, you all heard it here. I have an excuse.
No, I
Um,
don't want to engage a condor.
So, okay, so we'll touch on both of these engageability points, all right? Because we just accidentally stumbled across one, and if you guys are interested, I'll keep the fleet going for a while since it seems like we've got other stuff coming up here, um, or at least until you guys are sick of this. So first, I'll talk to that little the Condor versus Tristan, and then I'll talk to the fleet strength piece. Um, so you're flying a kite Tristan, which is a Tristan that tries to stay away from the target. It's got some tank, but not a ton, and generally it lets its drones do its work. But because it's a kite Tristan, it may sacrifice. Actually, I think you guys have 2 damage amplifiers on there, right? 2 of them. Uh, so it doesn't
Yep.
really sacrifice damage. It has enough lows. It just sacrifices tank for the ability to project damage. Hold on a second. Uh, so you try to stay away from targets and let your drones do all the work. The Condor is part of a class of ships that I'll just label as like the tackle ships. So the Atron is a tackle ship. The Condor is a tackle ship. The Slasher, which one of our guys is flying, is a tackle ship, and the Executioner is a tackle ship. It's the Amarian tackle ship.
User joined your channel.
Generally, what the tackle ships will do is they'll fit either just tackle stuff and they won't worry about damage, but if they're used in combat, in a combat sense, they usually end up getting flown as maybe kiting platforms depending on the weapon system. In the case of a Condor, hello Ashadi. In the case of Jared, sorry. Oh, we're getting more people in. Go ahead and kill the rat.
User joined your channel.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we're just in Oix and running plexes and kind of bullshitting. So in the case of the Condor, you'll often see them light missile fit. Light missiles. Are you guys familiar? Are the new guys familiar with the difference between blasters and railguns on Galente ships? Blasters being the short-range version, railguns being the long-range version of the weapon system.
Yeah.
Okay. So when it comes to missiles, you have rockets and you have light missiles. Rockets being the short range and light missiles being the long range versions. Same sort of thing with the missile systems, where you sacrifice range for damage and vice versa. So a rocket fit ship is going to have more damage output but shorter range than a missile fit ship. So Condors are usually there's a war target in local, Rifter, maybe, unless that's one of us. Yeah, that's fine, Ashadin. So Condors will usually be light missile fit because they're usually tackling ships. They'll use warp disruptors, kind of like the Tristans use, and they will try to stay as far away from their target while still hitting the target with missiles. Something's up with your mic, Ashadin. It keeps picking stuff up occasionally. So comparing the Kite Tristan to a Kite Condor, the Tristan's drones will apply a fair amount. Can you mute yourself, Ashadin? Thank you. Comparing a Kite Tristan to a Kite Condor, they're kind of on par with each other because they both project DPS out to their maximum ranges. The Tristans have to wait for their drones to kind of chase down the target, and if the pilot doesn't have good drone navigation skills, which increase the drone's speed, or doesn't have, if they're using slow drones like hobgoblins instead of faster drones like acolytes, then they might have trouble getting the drones to actually hit the target. Whereas with missiles and with rockets, it's a big area of effect of death. If you can lock onto the target and if they're within missile range, the missiles will hit them. So in this case, if I were flying a Kite Condor versus a Kite Tristan, the Tristan may apply more damage to the Condor than the Condor could apply to the Tristan. Go ahead and kill a rat. However, I happen to be a fan of brawling Caldari ships, so I tend to fly rocket armed ships pretty much exclusively. I don't know how often you guys will end up flying in fleets that I'm in, but 99% of the time I'm flying some Caldari hull with rockets slapped onto it. And in this case, I'm flying a Condor that is a rocket brawl Condor. So, well, more specifically, it's a scram kiting Condor. So it's got a warp scrambler and a web and rockets fit to it. And what I do is I get up close to the target that I'm looking to fight, and I stay just outside of his targeting range, or not targeting range. I just try to keep him at arm's length while I beat up on him with rockets. So when we're talking about ships like blaster brawling ships, like the T1 Atrons that you guys may be familiar with, I'll be able to keep those from catching up to me and applying damage to me, while at the same time I'm perfectly applying DPS to them. And in the case of the kiting ships, like these Tristans, I have a micro warp drive fit, so I will be able to just run you down until I get you scrammed, and then you can't run away. And I probably have a little more tank on here than you do, or I'll apply more damage to you. So it's a little less of a coin toss in that sense. So that's that piece of it. Any questions before I talk about the fleet composition and what it can engage and can't engage? No? Okay.
Nope.
We don't have tracking disruption or any kind of dampening. So bigger targets might not be, I don't know. Newts, we need newts.
Okay, I'm gonna open up the, what do we have here? Can I get, okay. So I have an Atron, a Rifter, 2 Tristans, a Condor. What am I missing here? Do I have 2 Rifters, or am I, no, I'm confused. Okay.
There's an extra Atron in the system.
Wait, I'm dumb. As fleet commander, I have access to a list that shows fleet composition, so why don't I just look at that? Doy. Alright, so right now we have 6 T1 frigates, 6 Tech 1 frigates in fleet. I think that's probably gonna be about, we'll say an average of 80 DPS per person. So we might have enough to break a large rat. Let's toy around with that idea. We are going to warp to the large outpost. So I'm opening it now. Go ahead and warp to the large outpost at 10. And we're just gonna try to kill this rat. If we can't kill it, we'll open up the novice instead and run that. So I kind of actually just did semi-consciously there assess the fleet strength. We have 6 Tech 1 frigates, and earlier I asked for numbers from each of you, and you know, using that I just have a general sense. Assuming that everybody's able to apply between like 60 and 80 DPS, we should have 460, 480, whatever DPS amongst all of us. So
I'm having a problem. Computer is bugging. I don't know. See you guys later. I don't know if it's gonna bug.
Sounds like it's recovering. You were kind of warbly there for a little bit, but it sounds better now. So let's just go ahead and let's get everybody to shoot the state battlecruiser here. I just want to see if we can break it, because if we can just run down the large here and get some LP that way, but if we can't, then we'll just go over to the novice and run through that instead. So we have 6 frigates. Oh, rip. Was that? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
CCP problem.
Got it. Alright, so we have 5 frigates now. 5 frigates with us. Which means let's go ahead and just cease fire on the state battlecruiser. We're gonna warp to this novice instead. It's going to open now. So go ahead and warp to the novice at 10 and slide the gate. So 5 frigates averaging, 60 to 80 DPS means we've got 375, 400 DPS, something like that. Each of us probably has somewhere in the range of 4,000 effective hit points, maybe more, maybe less. And so normally, I don't normally delve into the numbers too much like that, but when we're talking about this fleet in terms of engageability, it often does become a math problem. So if we had, if we started having other frigates warp into our plex, like if we had a bunch of enemies on the outside, and we're wondering, okay, at what point do we engage or at what point do we not engage, then usually the evaluation I would make in my head is if we have more people than them and they are flying similar stuff to us. So if there's like 2 frigates on the outside of this plex, you'd easily take that fight because I'm pretty confident we could beat them. If we're dealing with the same numbers of similarly typed frigates, then it's still probably I mentioned the SRP at the beginning of this ship replacement, so I would probably still take that fight even though we might end up all dying, just because it's fun, it's interesting to exactly. If there are 20 frigates on the outside, I would probably call bail. I would probably say, okay, let's get out of here. So that's an easy equation to look at when you're talking about the same types of ships. So Tech 1 versus Tech 1. But I imagine the question that was asked originally was asked because we were wondering about how Tech 1 frigates stack up against other types of ships. So so in EVE there are a bunch of different categories of ships. I'm just going to rattle off a bunch of them, and I apologize, I'm going to be dealing with slang probably. There's T1 frigates, there's T2 frigates, there's faction frigates, and there's pirate faction frigates. And those generally were just listed off in the order in which they are considered a threat in combat. So if there were a Caldari Navy Hookbill, which is a faction frigate, or a Federation Navy Comet on the outside of the Novice, and I had 5 dudes in here, I would probably take that fight. If there were 2 of them, I'd probably start questioning it, because they're pretty strong on their own, and in pairs. A faction frigate is boasting probably 150% of our effective hit points, and probably 150-200% of our DPS output. So not only are they harder for us to kill, they also, thank you, keep an eye on D-scan and let me know what he's flying. The faction frigates are not only harder to kill, they kill you faster. So you want to be able to, like, you need to factor that into the, the
Caracal.
Okay. So Caracal, that's an interesting thing to note. So a Caracal is a light missile fit, a rapid, generally, okay, so generally, I'm speaking in general terms when I talk about this stuff, not like meme fit terms or anything like that. Generally speaking, Caracals are going to be rapid light missile fit, which means that they have a weapon system, a light weapon system, or a weapon system that's firing light missiles, which are a frigate-sized weapon, but rapidly. So they usually push, they burst, because they can only do this for a little while before they have to reload. They burst maybe 400 DPS, maybe 400 to 600, something like that, which means that they can shred frigates. So if I took our 5 frigates and tried to engage a Caracal, that might be, kind of pushing it. I don't think we have enough DPS to take a Caracal, because as a cruiser they've probably got about 25,000 EHP. And he would just use the light missiles to tear us to shreds. So we'd probably warp in on him, try fighting him, 1 or 2 of us would die, and then I'd call bail, and then probably 2 or 3 more of us would die, and it would be a mess. So, back to the frigates. So Tech 2 frigates are kind of, I want to say they're rare, like rarer in faction warfare right now, because a lot of the, okay, so interceptors are fast tackle ships, kind of. They're used to tackle things fast, right? That's one type of faction frigate. I'm gonna run up this list too, and if you guys want to follow along, well, I'll have to keep an eye on the D-scan, but I'm not too concerned about that. But if you want to follow along, I'm looking at the ship tree for Galente.
The Caracal is sitting at the warp gate.
One of you.
Whatever. So the Caracal is a cruiser. Can he get in, or can he not?
He cannot.
Okay, then we're not too worried about him. Again, he is going to, if we did try to fight him, he would just tear us to shreds, and I'm not too, I made the offer for payout, but I'm really not too keen on actually having to resupply a bunch of frigates. Alright, so we had a 2-man spike just now. One war target and 1 suspect, so I'm gonna put the training session on hold. Let's go ahead and kill that frigate while we watch D-scan and see if we can spot what these guys are flying.
One catalyst.
You said a catalyst? checking this. 5, 6. Okay. Alright, so we are all here. Yeah, so it was a Catalyst and a Thrasher, it looked like.
More.
That's one neutral. Oh, yeah, Moa, like you said. So interestingly, the Caracal and the Catalyst are outside of our Plex. I'm not sure why they're out there, but they are. The Catalyst might be looking to fight the Caracal, possibly. Or, well, I mean, that's the thing I would think of there. But, more likely, because the only other people in system with us that aren't us are war targets, it's probably a Caracal being flown with Catalyst support. So it's just a small roam that the war targets are doing. Alright. So let's see, I was talking about the tiers of the frigates, right? So interceptors, so these are all the Tech 2 frigates. We have interceptors, assault frigates, covert ops, electronic attack, and logistics frigates. So in LowSec, you'll generally only see, I mean, you'll see all of these, but in fleets, you're only going to see the interceptors and electronic attack ships supporting larger fleets, and you might see assault frigates as a fleet doctrine by itself, just because people like to do that. There's a lot of stuff going on about how assault frigates are in a bad spot right now and whatnot, but some people might end up flying those as a doctrine. You might also see logistics frigates like Deacons or Scalpels as remote repair ships. But in terms of actual combat, stuff you would expect to see in Plex warfare, usually you're not going to see Tech 2 ships, Tech 2 frigates, because of the gate restrictions. Tech 2 frigates can only get into small plexes and above. They cannot get into novice plexes. And because of that, they can only really engage larger targets. Whereas Navy frigates, faction frigates, and pirate faction frigates are not affected by that restriction. So you can take those two classes of ships into these plexes to fight small ships, to fight T1, prey on Tech 1 frigates. So I mentioned before that with our 5 or 6 guys here, I would consider fighting a single faction frigate. I might also consider 2 of them, but probably not. If we had a pirate faction frigate slide in, that's where it starts to get specific, like weirdly specific, because each of the pirate faction frigates has its own unique roles and capabilities, almost more so than regular frigates, because each faction in the game, each one of the major factions, the racial factions, Caldari, Galente, Minmatar, and Amar, they all have their own quirks about them, their own unique traits. So like Caldari are usually shield tanked, and they run hybrid weapons or missile weapons. Amar are armor tanked with laser weapons and drones and energy neutralizers and stuff. Just these different things that they do. The faction frigates usually are an amalgam, a mix of the different traits of the factions that the pirate
User joined your
faction is
channel.
made up of. Hello. And so they usually draw from the strengths of both sides. Okay, so
It's pretty lucky we didn't go to the
to the
medium
large.
side now.
Yeah. That's a bunch of nonsense out there, and that's what that is. Hopefully the small comes up soon. We might just hang out in here until the small shows up. Oh, they're fighting out there. Interesting.
Oh yeah, capsule.
Okay, so yeah, for those of you who don't know, if you're watching D-Scan, you'll see that there's a pair of caracals, a MOA, and a catalyst outside of our Plex. There was for a moment, or for a brief moment, there was also a Thrasher, and then there was a capsule that replaced it. What that means, for all of you detectives out there, is that somebody had their ship blown up, and suddenly they're in their escape pod. So, usually if you're lucky enough to catch something like that on D-Scan, you can get a sense of who's winning or losing a fight. So, if I were a gambling man, I would probably say that... Well, actually, I can't really tell here. So the capsule that we saw was Pfizer Flitzer in local, but so there's essentially two or three sides, or two or three sides we see in local, not including ourselves. There's the war targets, there's the suspect, and there's the neutrals. And this kind of goes to circles around to scouting and reporting intel too. So I see two war targets, and I see the suspect, and I see the neutral. The suspect, I would imagine, you usually only get suspect flags for doing suspect things, which includes in LowSec engaging targets that are not legal targets for you. So if we had a neutral slide into the Plex with us and we started fighting him, suddenly we would all have suspect flags. And vice versa. So Witzbold 286 in local must have done something to get himself that flag, although I think he came in with it, came into local with it. But the fighting that's going on makes me think that it might have been and now based on what's being said in local, I'm guessing that the MOA is probably the suspect guy and the caracals are the war targets, and now they're getting kind of bitchy. Megan, you can just fly a frigate. We're just in Oix right now, and I'm just kind of rambling, ranting, whatever. People are listening to me for some reason. Alright, so let's see. Circling back to the... Alright, hold on. I just want to check quick here. What does... I'm just checking the map really quick.
Morgon. Capsule Witzbold.
Yeah, so what that means is that the caracals beat up on the caps on the MOA. The MOA happened to be hostile, and I really don't know what these war targets are doing here. Like, these caracals are wasting their time outside of our Plex, and I don't know why. Maybe they're trying to slow boat into the Plex. That used to be possible, from what I've heard. It isn't anymore, but it used to be that instead of taking the acceleration gate to get into Plexes, you could, with a fast enough ship, just burn into the Plex. Jeez. Alright, let me just eyeball this guy here. I'm trying to remember, we ran the... It might just be 2 or 3 minutes left until the small appears again, so I'm thinking we'll just hold here for a little bit. Somebody watch the clock for me. Don't let me ramble too much, but I want to sit here for 2 minutes, and if the small doesn't appear by then, we'll move on to a different system. That sound alright?
Yeah,
Roger.
that sounds about right.
Cool. Alright. So, going back to the frigates, pirate frigates usually mix technologies from the factions that they're derived from. So, in the case of, we'll say, the Worm from the Guristas line, the Guristas ships usually are shield tanked, The greases are like shield. Well, actually, here I'll just I'm just gonna link the worm in Fleet so that people can look at it. Here is the worm. So you can look at that. You'll see that on the traits tab, you'll see what bonuses it has. So it's got missile damage bonuses, it has shield resistance bonuses, and it has combat drone bonuses. So the worm is a joint like Caldari and Galente ship, I believe, and you'll see that it gets those bonuses based on those respective skill levels. So Caldari gets the shield resistance, Galente gets the kin therm missile damage. And then the roll bonus, the massive bonus to drone damage, is very appealing with the worm. One of the unique things about the worm is that it has limited drone bandwidth. It only has 10 megabits a second drone bandwidth, which means it can only field 2 light drones at a time. But those 2 light drones have that 300% damage increase applied to both of them, damage and hit point bonus. So one of the interesting things about fighting a worm is that worms are usually you'll get different fits. You'll get some that are brawling, some that are kiting, but we'll go with the kiting one. So a kiting worm will still be heavily shield tanked. It has that resistance to shield, it has the shield resistance bonus. So it's very heavily shield tanked. Probably we'll say 12,000 EHP. So 2 or 3 frigates worth of hit points. And then on top of that, each one of its drones is about as tanky as a frigate itself. So normally when you're fighting drone ships, you can like if you're less concerned about the enemy ship itself, like with the Tristans, the kite Tristans, if you're less concerned about damage from the ship itself and more concerned about damage from the drones, you can just kill off the drones. You can start shooting at them and they'll die eventually. But with a worm, killing one drone is as difficult as killing a regular frigate. So, the worm has a 25 cubic meter drone capacity, which means it can store up to 5 drones. So that's 5 frigates on top of the worm itself. So trying to fight that with a small gang of Tech 1 frigates may get difficult. It may be very difficult. So usually that's something that might not be as engageable as you'd think. So if we had a worm trying to slide into the Plex, we'd probably avoid fighting it. Probably warp off. Then you've got other ones. You've got ships like the Garmer, which is a notorious kiting ship. It has a bonus to scram and long point, scram and warp disruptor ranges. So it can, if you guys on the kiting ships look at your warp disruptors, you'll see that I think you've got a 20 kilometer range with them. The Garmer, if you fit it with the appropriate modules, which are usually blingy, usually super expensive, if you fit a Garmer correctly, you can point something up to 54 kilometers away. And then I think with links you can go all the way up into the 70s. So you don't have to be anywhere near the target. And the Garmer is also a light missile fit ship. So I was talking about the Condor earlier being a kiting platform. The Garmer is the like cancerous version of that. So they're also very fast, very hard to catch. You can sometimes, and shameless self-promotion here, I do have some of my videos on my channel where I catch kiting ships in a faction frigate of my own, like that. But usually what they'll do, what people who fly those will do, is they'll just try to stay as far away as possible from a gang like us, and they'll wait for 1 or 2 of us to kind of burn out towards them, and then they'll just pick that target off, and then people will, maybe people will get overconfident. Oh man, I've almost caught him, and they'll just continue to get picked off, and it's usually just kind of a mess. Yeah, we're in Oix, Megan. Sorry, I just been we're not running a Plex yet, so I've just been chatting. Alright, so I feel like I went way past my 2 minutes, so we're going to we're gonna go to EHA and try to see if we can find a Plex there. If we can't find one there, we'll go set up shop in Vlil. Go ahead and warp to the EHA gate. Yeah, I think we'll run one more Plex and then I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna wind down the fleet. So I know I talked about a lot there. I did a dumb thing. Did I answer at least some of the questions about the engageability that were being asked?
Yeah,
or?
I think so.
Okay, cool. Alright, one war target in EHA. Let's go ahead and warp to the Caldari small outpost at 14.9 AU.
Active. Warp drive active.
Interesting. Let's keep an eye on D-scan and see what Dean's flying. Yeah, so just warp to the small outpost and slide the gate, and we'll start running the Plex.
Oh, attention FC, I forgot my drones at the site. I'm just gonna pick them up again.
Okay. Yep, no problem. Alright, so let's play a game. Well, okay, maybe not a game, I don't know. Can someone tell me why I don't want to fight Dean Wispa? If if you guys are observing what's going on in local chat, there's a solid reason right now I do not want to fight him. And it's maybe a multi-layered question, but we can start picking it apart. So when we entered local, he asked, he was finishing a fight with somebody, and then he asked for a 1v5. And now he's talking about not being able to enter a small. What's he flying? Somebody call that out.
Is he flying the Osprey?
That is correct. So if you didn't know, when you double click on something on DScan, you can actually see information. It's the same as the show info of that. So if you double click on the Osprey Navy issue on DScan and go to you know, trades, description, whatever, you just start flipping through the stats for it. You may or may not notice that it's similar to the Caracal that I was talking about earlier. So the Osprey Navy issue, especially for solo stuff, which, you know, is implied because Dean Wispa was asking for a 1v5, that implied that he was looking for some solo PvP. An Osprey Navy issue is going to be a kiting rapid light missile fit ship, kind of like a lot of you know, very similar to the Caracal, except stronger. It's the, you know, it's the faction frigate equivalent of a Caracal. So we, you know, he was basically just asking us right there if we would be willing to feed him kills.
He's blocking the entrance for me now.
So it's not really blocked per se. If you're flying a frigate should be agile enough to. So if you play your cards right, and this may or may not take some piloting to do, some good
He's still
piloting.
on the D-scan.
Yeah, he's just sitting out there and bullshitting.
Oh, I'm gonna give it 2 minutes, then I'm gonna try it.
No, so you're in a Tristan?
Yeah.
Can you link your fit and fleet again? You're
You probably
you're one of
you
the.
probably just slide the gate, dude.
Yeah, you can, and I'm breaking it down, Ashadi. That's why.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's it's all right. I'm just step by step. This is a training fleet after all, right? So I don't want to fight the Osprey Navy issue because he's rapid light fit. That's why. He would just tear us all apart. He's just looking for 5 little kill marks on his ship. He's just wanting to shred us. That's all it is. Okay, so you have a so your Tristan is nanofiber fit, so it's got more agility because of the nanofiber, and so normally it's very difficult to lock frigates when they land on a gate and immediately try sliding the gate. So what you can do, and he's already off, so I don't think it's a concern, but what you can do just for practice is
Yeah.
if you warp to the plex at 10 and then watch your overview until the gate appears. As soon as the gate appears on your overview, you can click it and then you can spam the D hotkey, which by default is the activate gate or dock or jump or whatever option. So if you warp to a plex, and this applies to all plexes that aren't larges, if you warp to a plex and you click on the gate as you're landing on the gate and you start spamming that hotkey, you can usually it will queue that action up to occur immediately after you've landed, come out of warp. So you'll immediately start aligning down the gate and you'll warp in just like that. Go ahead and kill the rat. So it's unless you've got like ships specifically designed to catch things that are trying to slide a gate, it's very easy to just get into a novice in a frigate without something catching you, as long as you're paying attention.
Yeah, I got you. I'm gonna try it now.
Yep. There are a pair of... Okay, so we've got catalysts coming in. I was not paying attention. Let's just go ahead and... We're gonna take this fight. Go ahead and target Nostegio. And I want everybody to just hit him as soon as possible, please. Go ahead and primary is Nostegio. And I might actually go down here pretty quick, but just if you're a kiting ship, keep kiting and focus on getting damage on them. If you're a brawling ship, be safe, but just kiters, make sure you keep them disrupted and
Nostalgio's about to go down.
Alright, can I get somebody to disrupt Commander Gauntlet? Somebody put a warp disruptor on Commander Gauntlet.
I'm coming in.
Got him.
Alright. Is Nostalgia still going down, or what's... Okay, perfect. Now just
He
all...
just went down.
Yep, all DPS on Commander Gauntlet now. Just keep burning them down. If you're in a close range ship like the Slasher, try to not get too... Oh yeah, actually, that was good. Good move.
Uh-oh, I'm down, I'm dead.
Oh. Alright. How's he looking?
He's at structure. He's going down.
Perfect. Alright. Once he's down, let's go ahead and align out. Just try to burn him down as quickly as possible.
And
Perfect.
he's down.
Alright, so I want everybody to align to the OICX gate. Align out first. We're not going to warp yet because some of us still have weapons timers, so we're going to take as long as possible to get out there. There's an Astero and a Griffin and a Tristan on the outside.
The Astro is outside.
Yeah, so there's some stuff still on the... Oh, okay, the Tristan and Griffin were friendly. I didn't know that. Alright, so just align to the OICX gate. We're gonna go ahead and GF in local. Good fight, you know, whatever. And then we're gonna head back to Valil, and I'm gonna take this as the opportunity to finally stand down the fleet. I know I've been talking off and on for 2 hours. I'm sure it's not terrible, but I do think I need a break. So
You deserve a break.
yeah. So we should be good to go soon. Whoever got the kill mails, go ahead and link those in fleet. Link kills and losses in fleet. So if your ship was destroyed, just link your kill mail. If you don't know how to do that, let me know. We'll just see how well we came out with that. They were probably shit fit. That's unfortunate. So who got the catalyst kill mails?
Wait, where would the kill mail be?
I didn't get it. I was late to the fight.
I don't think it was me, so...
What? She warped out?
Well, I can't remember where kill mails are.
We'll talk about it as we're moving. So go ahead and warp to the OICX gate and jump. So you should have well, you might have a notification feed in the bottom right corner of your screen with like blue numbers on it. Maybe, maybe not. If you do, then you can click on that, and if you got the kill mail, it would be one of the things that appears there. Otherwise, I can just have one of the Pioneers guys check the kill board for the Pioneer. Well, check the kill list for the Pioneers, and
Oh, I got the final blow on it.
Okay, cool. Good. Actually, it was both of the catalysts were Valora Accords, it looks like. So there's the 2 catalyst kill mails. Yeah, so go ahead and jump to Oix and warp to Valil gate. Oh, those are what are they? The Battle Cats or whatever? Can't remember the name of the doctrine, but those are doctrine catalysts that they bought us with. They're cheaply fit, but they're very effective damage that is helpful to help force people out of plexes like they just did to us. We, you know, the different sides have different doctrines in LoSec, and we'll use them in stuff like system pushes, so I think Jules has some of that planned. We don't use them a lot because a lot of that sort of stuff, if you look at those catalysts specifically, you can go ahead and just jump to Valil whenever you get here and just dock up or whatever. We're standing down, I'm just talking through this quick. So those are attrition doctrine catalysts. They're super cheap and super effective at what they do. So you can use stuff like that to just flush people out of a system you don't want them in. We don't see a lot of that kind of fighting anymore due to citadels changing the landscape in LoSec. But before the introduction of citadels, there were a lot of there was a lot of combat involving these types of doctrines where we would just get into fleets of 10, 15, 20 dudes on either side and just slide into plexes and just blow the crap out of each other. It was great, and I hope CCP fixes citadels in LoSec so we can see that come back, because it was a lot of fun. So anyways, I think I'm gonna stand down the fleet now.
The kill mails come in the combat log, right? If you final blowed them, right?
Not sure.
I can't remember.
So it's not logs and messages. It's the notification feed, which is like the little Wi-Fi signal
Sure,
button.
sure.
But if you're not seeing them there, right. So I'm gonna have the Pioneers guys do this real quick, just so they're familiar with it, and you can follow along for our side too, because we're mix here. If you click on the corporation button on your sidebar, which is the star with the two like little arcs or wings or whatever, and anybody should be able to do this, so whoever's following along is free to follow along. If you click on the corporation icon and then go to the Wars tab and go to the Kill Reports tab from there, you'll see all of the kill reports that are associated with your corporation. If you click on the drop down and see Show Kills, you'll see all the kills that have recently occurred, and then you can sort that by date. So for Valora Accords, if you sort by date, you'll see the 2 catalysts as the most recent kills we had. I'm not sure what the Pioneers have on their list, but everybody who is listed on the kill mails that are linked in Fleet was involved in those kill mails, and so those will show up on like the kill boards and whatnot. It's just a little way of showing that you've been involved in combat or whatever. But it's usually just like an E-peen measuring stick, really. Yeah, some people care about that, a lot of people don't. Kind of just depends.
It's a nice feature.
Yep. Is anybody else, does anybody have any other questions before I stand this down? Last call?
No, thanks.
Nope.
Alright, cool.
Are we doing a
I need
fleet
a new
later
ship.
tonight?
I'm not sure. I just stepped in to cover this fleet slot for
And then
Jules.
I was gonna say Soder's still in the corp though. I don't know why he said. I don't know why that one Dean said that Soder quit.
Oh, when did he say that?
And in local chat, he was like, "I see why Soder quit."
Oh.
No, he goes, "Yeah, damn, no wonder Soder quit."
Oh, whatever.
I was like, "What?"
I'm taking whatever he said in local chat there with a grain of salt. Specifically, like his salt. Like he's just pissed off that we wouldn't feed into him. That's all that was. I assume Dean probably has some history with Soder, but it doesn't matter. All that really was like
it?
if you unmask all of that, it was really just him trying to coax us into a fight.
Wasn't Dean in Moria at one time?
Well,
or am I thinking of a different guy?
We can check. If you click on Dean Wispa, employment history, he was in Just K. That's probably where it was.
Yeah.
So, whatever. Oh, he's just been there for
I've been
almost... whatever. Yeah.
I've been in Mora for like 5 years, on and off playing Eve. Just back into it after like a year not doing it.
Yeah. That's cool. Alright, well, yeah, so, in case anybody was actually wondering about this fleet was supposed to be Jules's, but he did ask me to stand in. That's why I'm here today. Hopefully you, enjoyed the fleet. Hopefully you learned something new. But I'm gonna call it here. So I'll talk to you guys later.
Oh, by the way, thank you for the fleet. Do you want to give us the name of your YouTube channel?
I'll post the YouTube channel in Fleet, and
yeah, thanks.
You're free to pass that around.
I will take a look.
Hey, before you bounce, what is the active times now for this alliance? Because back in the day, it was like always late at night, which was perfect, but it seems to be dead now.
So Valora Accords is generally well, we're flying a lot with the EU time zone guys right now, So usually our active times range from maybe 1900 to 2200, and then Jules will occasionally do US time zone stuff, but we have, there's a select few pilots that are actually US time zone, like myself, him, you, I assume, and then like Tristan Valentina. So there's really just like 3 or 4 of us US time zone guys right now.
I'm also EU.
Yeah.
Me too.
So.
You get some US guys in here, dude. What the
Yeah. I honestly think a lot of the US guys probably, you guys are free to drop if you want, but if you want to keep listening, that's fine. I think a lot of the US time zone guys might have migrated to Bebop and Just K because they have a much larger US time zone presence, specifically West Coast. Because I know myself, Soder, and Tristan are all East Coast US. And then I think like at least 1 or 2 other the US players we have who aren't on as frequently are also East Coast. So I specifically remember like Roy Henry and his group of dudes being very predominantly West Coast. So
I'm East Coast. I'm East Coast too.
Is Just K an enemy of ours now, or still allied, or were we ever? I can't remember.
They're Gal Mill. Like
Okay.
they shouldn't be enemies.
But we can usually, like, even though it looks like Just K. Oh yeah, they're in our chat. It looks like Just K is. It's still okay, just like hop in their channel and be like, hey, you guys doing anything, or is that a no?
I don't see any problem with it. Like
I mean, we're all on the same side, so.
Yeah, you can jump around. Like as a matter, like personally, and I've told we have one other U.S. time zone dude who's like struggled to find people who are on during his time. I would actually advocate doing something like that because it's regardless of what banner you're flying under, you're still like trying to get content on the side of like Galmil in this game. So you might as well fly with Galmil players who are flying at the same time as you. And I think Just K and Bebop are probably more involved in the US time zone, where they have a heavier presence than Moira does. So.
Alright, man, have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
User disconnected from your channel.
Oh, okay, can I get, before I keep trying to wind down, can I get one of the Pioneers guys? I just want to make sure that all of the lost ships are accounted for. So I know I saw, I saw Stan's kill mail or lost mail. Did anybody else lose their ships, or was it just myself and Stan?
I think
I lost mine.
One else here.
Can you find your kill report and link it into Fleet, please?
Yeah, give me a second.
And that was Cabby who said, "Give me a second," right?
Nope.
Jared.
Oh,
Jared.
okay. Never mind then. Cool. So that is everybody now. We traded the Condor, the Tristan, and the Atron for 2 Catalyst kills. Looks good. All right. I'm gonna. Let me find this stuff. Gotta figure out where I've got it.
Drive active.
Oh, in the wrong station here. So, what I'm going to do is I have I have spare Jesus, I'm tired, I think. I have a ton of spare ships in Rodin 7, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to contract some over to you guys. And then you're free to just do with those whatever you want. Use them in these fleets, go out, lose them randomly, whatever.
Docking permission
But
required.
Thanks.
if you I guess who all, let's see. Yeah, so if you all who've participated in the fleet today, I thank you for participating, for being actively involved, for listening to me ramble. Hopefully you had a good time again, and I'm gonna call it here. Done.
I did. Thank you.